tragedies are worse when they're closer to home. And Saturday night, I had plans with my wife, and with the Jewish Sabbath ending at a certain time, and that's the end of when I can no longer use electronics. So as soon as Sabbath is over, it's usually check the cell phone, check what's going on in the world. But we had plans, and we had to run out the door. So I didn't check my cell phone. I didn't check my email. I didn't check social media. Ran out the door to go to a movie in Bellevue out at Cinemark. And when I came home, that's when I checked everything. So at around midnight on Saturday night, I'm looking at the news from Friday night. And on Friday night, 5 people were shot in a Rainier Beach Safeway parking lot. Now, you may say, who cares? What's the big deal? It's South Seattle. It's Rainier Beach. It's Rainier Avenue. It's a Safeway parking lot. It's Seattle. Who cares? It's where I go grocery shopping. It's where I go grocery shopping. Tell you something else. You know who lives in that neighborhood? You know who lives nearby? The mayor of Seattle, Bruce Harrell. Because he doesn't live that far from me. There's really only 2 Safeways, and I assume Bruce Harrell doesn't go shopping for his own groceries. I assume Bruce Harrell doesn't go to either one of those Safeways, either of the ones that I go to. But he knows it's there. He knows what the crime is like. Anytime you're going to I-5, you got to go that direction. You got to see what's going over there. What does it say when the most dangerous intersection, Henderson and Rainier Avenue, is in the same district that Bruce Harrell represented as a city council member? The same district that he lives in as mayor of Seattle. Anybody surprised by all this? No, of course not. It was during an event where the Boys and Girls Club, they have this Pathways program. And what they were doing was they were giving out food. They had a whole bunch of tents set up in the parking lot. And they're giving out food to locals. They're helping out with clothing. They're doing an outreach thing, trying to make the neighborhood feel a little bit safer. Now, say what you want about the Boys and Girls Club. Say what you want about King County that was involved in this event. They were trying to do good. Somebody came and started shooting. In fact, it seems like 2 suspects came and started shooting. Shortly before 9 p.m., officers responded to reports of a shooting on the 9200 block of Rainier Avenue South, which is the Safeway parking lot. Officers located multiple victims in and around the Safeway, provided life-saving measures until the Seattle Fire Department arrived. Now, if you look at the video that actually I saw raw alerts head out, it's from inside the Safeway. It's where I go. You see people lying there, having medics working on them. It's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. There were 2 victims, a male and a female, both in their 20s, were transported in critical condition to Harborview Medical Center. 2 other males, also in their 20s, were transported to Harborview in stable condition. An additional male in his 30s was treated at the scene for minor injuries and released. The good news is that the 2 that were in critical condition have been upgraded to stable condition. So that's good news. 2 of these people were staff for the Boys and Girls Club. They were staff for King County's Pathways program. They were trying to do good. And I'm sorry, but when the mayor shows up to get his face on TV after something like this, I'm like, dude, where the hell you been this whole time? Where the hell have you been? This is your neighborhood. You say all the time, oh, 98118, one of the most diverse zip codes in the entire country. Everybody knows what Rainier Avenue is like. Everybody knows what Rainier Beach is like. Everybody knows what South Seattle is like. You're ineffective as a council member for however many years. You're ineffective as a mayor. This stuff is happening right under your nose. So you show to get your face on TV because this is a bad one. And it's in your neighborhood. I guess I shouldn't be that mad at him because at least he showed up. Tammy Morales, the council member for that district, completely MIA. Completely MIA. This is Bruce Harrell when he showed up the other night. He was talking with Como News.
This is a critical part of the city, one of the most diverse areas in the country, and it's our responsibility to protect it.
Friday night, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell stood at the scene, a Rainier Beach Safeway where 5 people were shot during a community event, saying that something needs to be done.
You have these fine community leaders here, people that come from these streets, that come from this community, protecting the community, literally putting their lives on the line to protect the community, to protect our kids, our youth, our seniors. That's the tragedy of today, with too many guns in the wrong places, in the wrong hands.
Oh, It's the gun's fault. Yes, that gun walked into the Safeway parking lot and started randomly shooting people. What do you want to bet we're going to find out this was gang-related? What do you want to bet? We're going to find out this was drug-related. What do you want to bet? We're going to find out that whoever pulled the trigger was prolific offenders. Or what do you want to bet? They're never going to be found at all. Because don't forget, this is not the first time things have been happening in this area. In fact, there's lawsuits pending against this shopping center because of the amount of violence that happens over there and people getting shot. This isn't the first time. There's multiple lawsuits of bystanders getting killed at that shopping center. I remember years ago, this shopping center, it did something fascinating. It had speakers installed outside that played classical music on the building. Because it's pretty hard to look like a badass if Bach is playing in the background. I guess you could say I'll be Bach. But yeah, can't really do that. Somebody got mad and complained about the noise, or somebody complained more likely about, it's racial stereotyping, it's profiling, whatever, and they don't play it. Do I think music would have prevented this tragedy? No, of course not. Could have stopped some of the things that go on in the parking lot, because the lawsuits specifically talk about what goes on in that parking lot with the liquor store there and people doing bad things in the parking lot and what goes on at the grocery store and everything else. You could sue Safeway all you want. How much can Safeway actually do? Sure, they can hire security guards, but I noticed something. There used to always be cops in that parking lot. Used to always be cops. But ever since COVID, haven't seen those cops around. Because let's not forget what happened during COVID. The riots happened during COVID. The defunding movement happened during COVID. And you know who led the charge on the defunding movement? Tammy Morales, city council member, District 2 of Seattle. She led the charge. In fact, she actually supported the rioters, let's not forget. This is a person who was very excited about the looting. Let's take you back to 2020.
But what I don't want to hear is for our constituents to be told to be civil, not to be reactionary, to be told that looting doesn't solve anything. And, it does make me wonder and ask the question why looting bothers people so much more than knowing that across the country, Black men and women are dying every day and far too often at the hands of those who are sworn to protect and serve. Yes.
They're not dying at the hands of those that protect and serve. They're dying at the hands of each other. Nobody wants to talk about that. I don't know what color the people were in this parking lot. I don't know what color the shooters were. But for somebody to say something like that and not talk about Chicago, not talk about Los Angeles, not talk about Seattle, somebody like Tammy Morales, who claims to care so much about the homeless and doesn't care that they're killing each other, you're full of it. You're completely full of it. This is all virtue signaling. You led the effort to defund the police. And now in her statement, what does she say in her statement? Because this is mind-boggling. In her statement, she talks about talking with the police to solve this problem. You got rid of 600 of them. You were part of the problem. You helped defund the police department, which led to 600 officers quitting. 600 officers leaving that force. And what happens? Record homicides, record property crimes, record carjackings, record crime across the board. Just last week, a person was stabbed at a light rail station not too far from this Safeway. Last weekend, 3 people were injured in a shooting. 1 woman was killed during that illegal street race in Capitol Hill where police had to retreat because there weren't enough of them because they didn't have enough police officers. And you had the people in the street race not even caring about the officers' orders, but they were dancing on the police cars. They were jumping on the police cars. They were coming at them with barriers and barricades. Police had to fall back. This is what you get with leadership like this. Seattle this weekend had the Torchlight Parade for Seafair. I love Seafair. I can never go to the Torchlight Parade because it's always on Saturdays. But the Torchlight Parade was moved to the afternoon. Now, I reached out to Seafair for comment, haven't heard back yet, which is rare for them, because I asked, was this because of safety concerns? And no answer is also an answer. Why would you move the Torchlight Parade when when you can't see your torches or your lights to the middle of the afternoon. Sure, it's better for the kids. You get more people there. You think it doesn't have something to do with all the craziness around here? You think it doesn't have something to do with all the problems in Seattle? How many stores do you go to have changed their hours that they are no longer open late because of all this insanity? It's only getting worse. It's only getting worse. Just look around a little bit. Aurora Avenue. So people like Tammy Morales say, sex workers, we got to allow them to do it, and whatever the case may be. You got these hotels up on Aurora Avenue that are being threatened with closure by the city because of the amount of crime that goes on there. You think any normal person wants to stay in these hotels? So, of course, the people who run them are going to rent them to whoever's willing to pay. And you're shocked you're going to have these problems? This is what happens when there's no law and order. This is what happens when you enact progressive policies. This is what happens when you enact socialist policies. Look at our city. 5 people who are trying to do good at an outreach event for the Boys and Girls Club were shot over the weekend. Tammy Morales didn't even show up. She doesn't deserve your vote. She doesn't deserve your vote because she never shows up. She's never available for constituents. She's never available for press interviews. She's never available. She doesn't want to be available. She wants to enact her agenda and go back to her multi-million-dollar mansion in the Lakewood area. That's what she wants to do, which has a nice view of Lake Washington, by the way. Bruce Harrell's no different. Wants to go back to his castle, sometimes his condo in Bellevue, and he wants to hang out there, and he just wants to be remembered for something. That's it. Have that on his little checklist. I was mayor of Seattle. The wife and I went to the MOHI yesterday, a Museum of History and Industry in Seattle. Hadn't been there a while. Heard there was a baseball exhibit for the All-Star game. While we were there, we're looking at the history of Seattle. And there's a section on Hoovervilles, those rundown encampments during the Hoover administration when people were living all over the place. History repeats itself. That was over 100 years ago. Any different today with Tammy towns that are all over District 2? The difference this time may be drugs, but they're all over the place. This is by design. You are remembered for things like this. I would like nothing better than to see Tammy Morales lose tomorrow and not even make it through the primary. I don't think that's likely. I think she's going to have to lose in the general election because there's only 3 candidates running in that race. But I wonder how many people aren't even going to show up to vote. How many people are going to go, oh, there was a primary? How many people are going to go, oh, I was on vacation, I was out of town, I forget to get my ballot in, I got things more important to do? And that's how the crazies always win, because the crazies are always organized. The socialists, like Tammy Morales and her party, are always organized. You can be the one who proves them wrong. You can be the one who stops this cycle. You can be the one who does it. You, by talking to your friends, by calling your friends, by saying vote, 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 not just putting up a sticker on social media because they don't even give you the sticker around here anymore. By getting out there and doing it. Ballots are due tomorrow. Have you had enough yet? Or do you want more? Because if these people get reelected, they're only going to double down on crazy.